Welcome to the Stiff Truth. I'm Bob West. I'm here with Scott Casanova. We've got a lot of things to talk about today, so I'm very excited about today's episode. How you been, Scott?
I'm doing fantastic, Bob. Loving life couldn't be better. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty good. Not hungover today, which is, I don't know if that's good or bad. It kind of feels like I'm wasting my life. Yeah. Like I'm not living it to the fullest.
Well, don't feel bad, Bob. I think I drank enough for both of us yesterday, and I really noticed that this morning when I woke up and it burned a little bit when I peed. You know, that kind of after alcohol effect. So, and I think I'm clean though. I think I'm clean.
Okay, good. You got it all out of there. Drink plenty of fluids today. Recover because you don't have much time before the work week starts.
No, we don't. That's right. Jeez, it's right around the corner. My goodness.
So we have a very special Stiff Truth coming up today. It's something that Scott and I have literally argued about for years.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I can't wait to get to it. I think it'll be exciting to talk about. At least excited for me and Scott, and that's really what matters. Our stiffies can, they can take it or leave it.
Yeah. They can because I think it's going to be exciting for everybody though, because I do think this is a hot topic, maybe not so focused right now in the political climate. God, I love saying political climate for some reason because we can have fun with that all day. But anyways, back to what I was saying. No, go ahead, Bobby. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I did. I think that a lot of people don't necessarily think about this on the grand scale of things. We get so caught up in our day-to-day lives, the details of our lives. We all live in basically our own little egocentric world, and sometimes it's good to step out of our own little world and think in a grander scale. So I'm excited to talk about it, so I look forward to that. So that'll be coming up after the stiff drink today, guys.
Absolutely. And what I'm going to try to do for everybody, just make a big promise, is I'm going to try to keep just resulting to insults to a minimum.
I don't think the stiffies would appreciate that.
Well, by the way, in case you missed episode 3, our listeners, the stiffies, that is now a legit term. We've patented it. We've trademarked it. So enjoy that, everybody. Enjoy the new title that we've given you.
Because I enjoy it, and that's what matters most.
Yeah, exactly. But Bob, I have to mention something here, just kind of random here. But I noticed that you gave some blood the other day. Not only was I very, very proud of you for spreading the HIV virus, like I knew you, we had committed to a long time ago. But I'm also very proud that you were wearing your Stiff Truth T-shirt while you were getting your blood drawn.
Well, of course, I got to represent. I've got to give that HIV to everyone. I keep it to myself. I mean, Mike Pence had just left my house. so I had to contribute.
And this was after, I believe, he was hitting it really hard at the gay bars, right?
Of course. He's just like lurking behind the trash cans like this needle, and jumping out like with chloroform and a needle.
Oh, Pensy.
We're going to have to fact check that again. I think we did last week, but we'll double up.
Yeah, we'll double up. All I know, yeah.
So, speaking of Pence, did you happen to catch the news? I mean, who am I asking here? I know that we keep one eye on the news at all times, even if it's, with a bottle of booze in our hands, 5 drinks in. But we do try to pay attention to bring you guys something of the news. Again, want to reiterate, we are not your reporting source. We just want to open things up for the topic of discussion.
Yes, absolutely. So, again, we watch the news. We don't really know the factual, truth behind anything. But, we're scratching the surface here for you, and we're just kind of, pushing that in your face.
Yeah, I think that's important to qualify that, is if you want news, first off, you should probably not watch American television if you're trying to get it. You should probably start scouring the internet and gathering your sources and checking other news sources that don't have such a political lens that they want to represent the news through. But, to each their own. If you just want to catch a single source of news and hope that they're giving it to you the way that, you want it, then that's cool too. Good for you.
I'll tell you what, I have a recommendation. If you don't mind knowing about the weather in the Middle East and in Africa, Al Jazeera is a great one.
Oh, now, Scott, now you're a terrorist.
Well,
Is that what Armenians listen to? I don't know.
We were on the same page there, Bobby. I was just about to say, I was like, well, I am Armenian.
Oh man. So we talked about it a little bit last week, and we talked about what's going to happen. What's going to happen with Bernie? What's going to happen with Super Tuesday? What is the Democratic establishment going to do? Because we had this assumption that the establishment was going to do something big, and they did. It's almost
huge.
like we spoke to Tom Perez personally. Oh, by the way, that's the person that runs the Democratic National Committee. In case you guys didn't know that, but
stand up guy, stand up organization. Nothing shady going on there.
Very transparent guy. He was next to me giving blood.
and holding your hand at the same time.
He was the guy that it wasn't a selfie. He took that picture for me. So thank you, Tommy. No, really, he wasn't there.
Man. Yeah, let's just dive right into it here, buddy. I mean, Super Tuesday was, I want to say, probably the most interesting, I would say, 72 hours that I've ever seen. It was just amazing. I mean, you had, you have the DNC right now that literally positioned Joe Biden like a chess piece, to get the nomination and to block Bernie. And a couple of months ago, even like a few weeks ago, people were saying, Biden, get off. I mean, we were kind of making fun of him too. He's get off the stage, dude. You're done. This is a bad idea. You're toast, man. I mean, there was all kinds, and it was all over the news too. I mean, it wasn't even just Fox. It was everybody that were reporting basically like, this guy just needs to give it up, hang it up, old man. Again, like I said on the last show. Go have some nice warm soup in your rocking chair in the nursing home and enjoy those golden years. But he surprised me with what he won. I mean, the delegates said he won. What about you, Bob? What do you think about it?
That Biden didn't surprise me. I mean, I guess.
Do you think he surprised himself?
Every morning.
Who am I?
Every morning he's like, I made it. All right, we'll do this again then. But no. What surprised me was the amounts that he won, but the fact that he won didn't surprise me because Amy Klobuchar and Pete Buttigieg quitting their presidential races the day before Super Tuesday is incredible and sets a new precedent for political, for political races, for primaries going forward for both parties. And I say that because I've been comparing Bernie Sanders to Donald Trump in many ways. And I know that sounds weird, but hear me out. So Bernie Sanders is much the black sheep of the Democratic Party, like Trump was in 2016 or 2015 rather, when he first started running. The establishment Republicans did not want him running. They wanted someone that they could control, that had a history, that they knew who was in bed with whatever corporations, and that they could really keep a muzzle on or whatever.
Yeah, but they definitely didn't want a guy in bed with a hot Russian chick.
No. Isn't she like Slovakian or something?
I'm sorry for everybody from that area.
Potato, right?
You're all Soviets to me.
If your name has like 5 consonants, you're still Russian. I don't care. You are.
Yeah.
Together with no vowels. Anyway, so the Republicans, though, what they did was they had a similar field to the Democrats. They had a bunch of people running, and the votes were really split up. But instead of uniting, because Trump only had like 30% of the party's interest at that point, by far not enough to win the primaries or all the delegates. But what they didn't do, what the Democrats learned from this time, I think, is they kept that attention divided for a really long time, and they divided those votes up. So no one person out of the 10 or whatever had enough votes to overtake Trump. Right, I mean, I think they were pretty clear on Ted Cruz was their, preferred person at that point. So what the Democrats did this time was like, you know what? let's put our eggs in one basket and we'll get the establishment going and we'll quit that diversity, so that way all of those votes funnel towards Biden. And so they took all of those moderate candidates and they basically gave all those votes to Biden, and then that was all the difference. And the funny thing was, Bernie and Warren are running basically the same campaign. They're promising the world. They don't know how they're going to pay for it. They're really cryptic about where the money's going to come from and all that. They're both for Medicaid for all outright. No different versions of it. So they're very similar candidates. Had she have also quit that day, then the fireworks would have started, right? Because then the 15% that she got would have made those races neck and neck in most of those places. So it'd have been very interesting. But she did not quit until after Super Tuesday, which made me think, was there a little bit of back channel dealing going on with the GOP there?
You know what? That sounds like it could be legit. Now, I think it's really interesting too. Buttigieg, him dropping out, especially with the momentum he had after winning the Iowa caucus and everything, right? And just kind of came out of nowhere. He was like the golden boy for just a hot minute, right? And what I thought was really interesting, he dropped out a day before. He still racked up 26 delegates, not even in the fucking race.
Yeah, that's funny. It's because so many people didn't have time to change their ballots at that point.
Oh, well, there's a lot of people that did it, like ahead of time and everything, and sent him in like weeks ahead of time thinking he was going to be the guy.
All those absentee votes were already
cast. And especially after Iowa, I don't blame some people like thinking that he was going to stay the course, again. Because he still would have been the DNC solution way over Bernie. Let's just face it here. Bernie is not a Democrat. He's not in the party of the DNC. He is a separate thing, and I believe that they are more threatened by him than they are by Trump.
He's more of an independent because he just doesn't really believe in most of the political ideology of the party. It's very, very strange that he doesn't just go independent.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird they didn't grow up in Cuba. Oh, goodness. But seriously, going back here to what you were saying, it was really interesting to me, not only how this whole chess game kind of worked out, right? We had, let's just face it, Pete, Amy out. Let's get behind Biden. Let's push it. Everybody endorse him right away. Let's give him some more momentum. And then the other interesting thing is Bloomberg. Bloomberg got 61 delegates, which is a shit show on the national level, but he was also second place in a few states, and
just taking those votes away.
Just taking those votes away from Biden. Let's face it, right? Yeah. So it's interesting to me that he stayed in, dropped out the day after. Warren took a couple more days to do it, but you pull those two out beforehand, I'm not sure who wins. I'm not sure if the Warden factor is enough to and I'm not even sure if all the votes from Warren are going to go to Sanders. Reason being, and they brought this up in the news, of course she was going to bring this up when she dropped out, that, I didn't become president. Sexism. Obviously, it's rigged against women. That's why Hillary Clinton won the popular vote in 2016, right?
Well, it's reverse discrimination against Native Americans, obviously.
Forgot about that. Oh, geez. Of course, that's what it is. She's got a double whammy. She's got a double whammy, bro. She's a minority woman that's been discriminated on and had her land taken from the dirty white man, right?
Of course. So she's going to have to go home and take solace in the fact that she can bathe with $100 bills.
Oh, I feel so bad for her. I really do. I mean, I don't know if you saw her little press conference outside of her fucking mansion in Massachusetts or whatever, but I don't feel bad for her whatsoever.
Well, let's all take a pause here to congratulate the one single delegate that what's Cruella's name? Cruella DeVille.
Yes, Cruella DeVille.
I can't even think of her name anymore.
We're just going to pause until you do. Tulsi Gabbard?
Thank you.
All right, yes. There we go.
Sorry, I would have remembered her if she was running for president.
Well, so, you know what's sad though is she got delegates, right? She was going to be in the next debate. I saw a few days ago, she was like, all right, Tulsi Gabbard qualifies, the DNC went ahead and changed the rules. They upped it to 20% needed to get into the debate now and just kind of pushed her on out too. Anybody in the way now, anybody that can potentially take votes away from the DNC's boy, Sleepy Joe, whatever you want to call him.
Well, I do have to say that I am pretty impressed that a political party was this coordinated, Republican or Democrat or not. That's impressive that they got to this level of just this level of coordination and this level of compliance from their people that were running. I really feel bad for all the people that donated thousands and millions of dollars to all these candidates that in the end were just distraction pieces for the overall goal. It's just I don't know. I don't think it was intentional scammy because I just don't think that anyone coordinates something to that level as far as that goes with the donations and everything. But it was definitely unintentional scammy, right?
Yeah. No, it was pretty interesting, man. Oh my God. But yeah, and then what you got going on right now? I mean, I was actually really surprised that Joe Biden ended up winning Texas. I was too. Yeah, I honestly, like, before anything happened, I would say Texas, mainly a right state, so I don't really know what to think. But if they're going to go with anybody, they're probably not going to go with the socialists. But then right out of the gate, Bernie was doing really well, and it took Biden a while to catch up. And I think they almost split that state pretty much, right? It was really close.
Yeah, it was pretty close, and the delegate count was fairly even in that state. And then the other side is I'm surprised that Biden did so well in California. Also,
yeah, no, that I thought was going to be lands, and it. Let's just face it. I mean, Sanders had that kind of nailed up pretty quickly, but he did get a good chunk percentage that I was also very surprised.
Yeah, Biden got a lot of delegates from California, so that was pretty fascinating. So
but that was one of the states though that Bloomberg came in fucking second, dude, and that just tells you right there. Okay, California's got a lot of fucking millionaires and billionaires and movie stars and stuff like that, right? And I have a big feeling that the people that weren't going to the socialist angle voted for him over Biden just because, like, you know what? This guy's got my back. He's going to protect my millions.
He'll protect my, corporate interest, my top 1% of taxes interest.
Yes. So I thought that was pretty interesting, California, you fucking hypocrites.
Well, we've seen it time and time again. We saw it with the Trump election, right? Everyone was, not everyone, a lot of people were like, oh, I'll never vote for Trump. But then they closed the curtain. And once you're by yourself in that voting booth, people's attitudes tend to change when no one's looking.
I mean, I even go in there and I take my pants down. That's just common practice. I want to feel very, very comfortable when I make my decision because sometimes I am on the fence about a couple of things.
Yeah, if I don't set my bare ass cheeks in the voting table, then I don't feel like it was done properly.
Isn't that a nice feeling? That's a nice feeling too. I mean, especially that you rest your balls on there too. It's just great. It's comforting.
Can I get a Sandy wipe in here?
You got to be careful these days, bud. You got to be careful, man. But, by the way, fact checked, Melania Trump is from the Yugoslav Republic of Slovenia.
So, what did I say?
Russia.
Did I say, like, Slovakia or something? Is that even a country?
I don't know. I think you throw a Slovakia.
Just throw a stan on it. It'll work.
Yeah.
Slovakistan. That's
she's from Slovakistan. And it's interesting too. She was born in 1970. I think Trump was, I don't know, probably already in his
like 20 years old at that point.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know. She's only 49. Trump's 73. Go Donald is all I got to say there.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
It was pretty impressive.
24 years, I think, is my math.
That's pretty impressive. I don't know. I don't have my calculator with me, and I can't do simple math. So
I want to say that's right. I can only do simple math, so let's just stop there.
All right.
So I think that about wraps up Super Tuesday. It'll be curious to see who actually gets the nomination and who goes forward. There's a lot of states left and a lot of Bernie states left too. So, but Biden's going to clean house in Florida. So.
Oh yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah, no, definitely. And well, you know what? I would be surprised to say there's all these Bernie states out there because there was also some in there. Minnesota. He should have got Minnesota. He should have got potentially Virginia. He should have got a couple more in there. And I think didn't Massachusetts also go to Biden too, which that's pretty close to Vermont. I was a little bit thrown by that one too. So I was, again, like you said, very, very impressed with how the DNC was so just cohesive and decisive and just had a very big strategic plan. I wish they would kind of do this like when they're in the Senate and House of Representatives instead of just trying to get somebody, elected.
No, there's only like 220 of them. They can be represented by like 4.
Yeah.
Without asking questions. It's just this is how you guys are going to vote, right?
Yeah.
No, yes, no, yes. Yes? Okay.
100%.
Okay, good. Because otherwise, we'll take a ode to Trump here and build a proverbial wall and oust you guys. Just like they did old Mayor Pete.
I'll tell you what. Well, you know what? Speaking of sanitary wipes, I think we should talk.
Hold on. I'm still reaching out to pull that one back in. Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah. I had to go back to it real quick here because speaking of sanitary wipes and wiping down the booth and the seat, before you sit on it bare ass, which is always very good. Be hygienic. I think we should circle back a little bit here on the coronavirus. A little bit of updates here on the coronavirus. One thing that I thought was very interesting. It's not really about the coronavirus. It's about the hysteria. But apparently, in the apocalypse, the most important thing for you to have a full stock of in your house, or excuse me, your bunker.
Hold on. First aid supplies.
You would think so.
Ammunition.
You would think so. Canned goods, right? I would also throw that one out there. Maybe a
clean source of water.
You would think so. I mean, they are selling a lot of bottled water, which again, I think is a little premature at this point. But no, it seems to be most important when you are potentially, just hunkering down and fighting a hardcore pandemic virus, that you have to have a clean asshole. Okay, because toilet paper is gone. It is the new thing. I went to Costco yesterday, completely sold out of toilet paper, and I saw a guy talking to one of the employees, and it was almost like a drug deal or something like that. Like, he had just missed the batch.
You're going to let me know when the next shipment comes in?
Exactly. Like he had just missed the last batch of the crystal meth that the cook made for the day, and he was going to, have a new batch ready in the morning because the guy was like, so if you come back tomorrow, we should have some, but come really early. I was like, Jesus Christ.
So I have a question. So there's a couple of things here that, pique my interest. And one of them is, so has it really been 4 months since you bought toilet paper? If you're going to Costco, you buy them in by the crate.
Yeah.
And so what, you need 2 or 3 crates of toilet paper? So like a year's supply?
You're going to need that because
I may be dying, but I'm going to die without an itchy asshole.
That to me, it seems to me strange. I brought it up to the cashier because, she was like, did you find everything okay? And I laughed. And I was like, well, I didn't need any fucking toilet paper, so I guess I'm good. And then she kind of made a joke. And I just told her, I was like, I honestly don't understand the toilet paper craze. And she's like, well, I guess if you're getting quarantined, everybody just wants to feel comfortable. And I was like, okay, I guess so. I don't know.
Yeah, it's very strange. I saw it though. I mean, I went to Costco on, I think it was Friday, and it was like Prepper Central in there, right? And yeah, I bought a couple of things of canned goods and a couple of things of water or whatever, just to have a couple extra, just in case I need it. But I do have water from my tap, and I don't think the coronavirus is gonna get in our water supply and start contaminating the world. I don't think it'll live in there, but I'm not a scientist, so
I'm not a scientist either. I brought that up to my wife, and she's like, "Well, maybe somebody could, pour it in there." I was like, "Is it a liquid? Could you do that? Could you pour the coronavirus in the water supply?" I don't even know, and that would be sabotage, and kind of. I don't get that. I don't think we're there. But yeah, that was the other thing too. There was so much bottled water there, which good job, Costco. You anticipated that people were going to want bottled water, but you did not anticipate, which I understand, that people were going to need a shit ton of shit paper, like right now. I mean, I don't know if they're lining the walls with it to soundproof it or something like that. I'm not sure what the plan is, but yeah, there's a lot of bulk toilet paper, which is interesting. I went to the local grocery store to pick up some produce because I do not get that from Costco, and they had toilet paper. They also had toilet paper on sale. So nobody was interested in the roll of like or the pack of like 5-6 rolls.
Well, Scott, let me interject here. Costco's got that good shit.
Well,
that Kirkland toilet paper is just really efficient and gentle in the butt. I mean,
and they also have Charmin Ultra, which again is like wiping your ass with just like a sweet, sweet peach fuzz kind of feeling. It's great. It's great.
well, I'm just glad that when there's civil unrest and someone's looting my house, that they'll do it with a clean asshole. Hygiene.
Yeah, right.
So speaking of hygiene, so I after Costco, I went to a grocery store because I needed some almond milk for my little one, and so I go there and there's no. My wife's like, "Oh, can you grab a hand sanitizer?" Sure. And I go there to look, and there's no hand sanitizer.
No.
Sorry about that. And so I go, and there's like a sign on the empty shelf where there was once hand sanitizer that said, limit 5 per customer. And so, like, people were, like, stocking up. And it's half of those people that were stocking up had no intention on using this shit. They're just going to sell them for, like, $20 a piece on eBay.
Oh, my God.
When the shortage happens. You know what I mean? You know that's going to happen because, capitalism. Yay. But so
this might be one of the negatives.
so then I went on to I was like, you know what? I'll just fucking make some. I'll run by and grab some isopropyl alcohol and some aloe and just have the stuff to make it, right? And I found one.
Check out this Breaking Bad motherfucker over here.
So I found 90% alcohol and grabbed it, and then I got 270s for just in case, even though I don't think 70 is enough to kill bacteria or viruses or anything. But I do need it when I clean a surface when I'm like making stuff in my crafting, so I got it anyway. But I also couldn't find aloe. Like, everything is just sold out everywhere, and people are freaking out. And I'm still standing by it that it's just not as dangerous as everyone wants it to be. And wants is probably a strong word, but
yeah, I don't think anybody wants it to be bad, Bob. What the fuck's wrong with you? No,
that's not true. Russia wants it to be really bad for us.
That's true. Well, and I totally get it. I mean, and look, again, I have to say this because I understand the fear. Watching the news too makes me a little bit freaked out sometimes too, when it's just all over the place. And, the cases now from this morning are around 400 confirmed cases all across the United States. The death toll is not rising very much at all, though. And it also seems to be highly concentrated with most of the deaths to a single assisted living facility, retirement home in Washington State. And I think the most deaths are actually in Washington State too, which would make sense because they have the highest confirmed cases. I think right around like 116 or something like that. But at
hold on, I'm a little bit. Do we know why it started there? Is there just like this like beeline from Wuhan to Seattle or something? Did you ever look into that, or I haven't looked into that?
I'm not 100%. I have heard things, which I think is interesting. Now, obviously, it's a port city, right? It's one of the major port cities on the West Coast, which is very close to Japan, which is another one of the top 3 most infected countries. You got China, Japan, and Italy. Of course, that makes sense because Italy's right next to fucking China. But anyways, that. And then I also heard the reason why it spread so quickly in Seattle versus even the counterparts on the West Coast, Portland and, we'll say just San Francisco and LA, they tried to blame it on the amount of homeless people, actually, too. I saw something on that on the news where they were kind of saying, hey, why is this so widespread in Washington? Which this kind of doesn't make a lot of sense because they have the same problems in San Francisco. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago, and they do have the same problem in Los Angeles and Portland.
Yeah, but similar variables, right? Where it's a large port city, a large Asian population with ties to China. So yeah, but there's not near as many in San Francisco, yet. But
and I think it's honestly those dirty sailors because, they never wear protection and they go from port to port. You know what I mean?
That's right. Those filthy buggers.
Just kidding. I love everybody in the Navy. Seamen are fantastic. But getting back to what I was saying there, I'm not 100% sure that the reasons that I heard make a lot of sense because all the other port cities on the West Coast have very similar variables, right? They have a high homeless population. Maybe it's gotten even worse in Seattle than I know, because they were just saying literally there's a lot of people that don't have access to wash their hands daily, to take a shower daily, and hence it spread pretty quickly because of that. I don't know how much truth there is in that. And again, I'm not quite sure outside of that why Washington State is really kind of getting the, okay, we'll just call it kind of the ground zero for the infection in this country, right? Or something of that nature.
Yeah, it was very odd. It came out of nowhere, considering when the cases started trickling in of people that got back from Wuhan or whatever, and there was like 11 or 13, and they were just kind of scattered across the country. Washington wasn't one of those.
No.
So it's very, very weird that all of a sudden it just popped up. Well, I was just curious if you had looked into that. I'm sure there's a rational reason for that, but I'm going to write that down, so maybe we can follow up on that.
Sure, that's fine, Bob.
Why Washington?
Why Washington? Just Google that. You'll probably get a list of crazy things.
Well, I will Google it, Scott, and if I do Google it, I'm going to Google it on my Windows PC.
Oh my God. Well, good for you. Hopefully you don't get like a blue screen of death all of a sudden and your computer shuts down and then needs like 25,000 updates from Microsoft.
No, I won't have to worry about it. I'll just be waiting for it to restart after its latest update.
My goodness, Bob. I'll tell you what, man. You've always been a PC guy. You've always been a PC guy, not politically correct, but I'm
not by any means, no.
But more using the Microsoft platforms on your computers and everything. Why have you made that decision, Bob? Why have you made that decision?
Well, there's a big thing. First off, I like to build my own rig, so I don't have to go buy a proprietary trapping machine like HP or Dell.
And for our viewers out there, when he means his big rig, he's not referring to his penis.
Not this time. So
continue, sir.
So basically, when you build a computer, or when you buy a computer, you're kind of locked into that computer, right? If you're like, oh, my computer's running a little bit sluggish, and this new video editing software I bought, needs more RAM. I'm just going to throw more RAM on my Dell or whatever. Well, chances are that no, you can't. You can't really upgrade your computer because they sold you something that was kind of maxed out and on the lower end of hardware, so there's not upgrade capabilities there. Well, I like upgrade capabilities, so I get my own motherboard with a high hardware ceiling, so if I want to upgrade later, I can, and it increases the longevity of my purchase. The computer I have now is 12 years old, and it's still pretty badass. So I've always been a PC guy because I do like to build my own rigs, and I like to be able to have that flexibility if I want to, get a new video card because a new game's out and my old video card won't really handle it. Whereas I don't get that if I just buy a canned Mac or a canned Dell or a canned HP or whatever don't get me wrong. If I get a Mac, it's probably going to be able to play whatever game I want for, 5 or 6 years or something. But I also have to pay, 2 or 3 times the price that it took me to build a comparable machine with the Windows PC. So a lot of it's cost effectiveness, value for dollar for me, and the fact that I have the ability to build my own rigs and save that money.
That time he was referring to his penis. I like how you snuck that in there, Bob. No, I mean, in all seriousness, I guess I get it. They're way more cost effective. I'm on the other end of the spectrum here. I am what Bob likes to call a Mac fanboy. Whatever, right? I mean, the reason why I enjoy a Mac, one, I'm not nearly using a computer for what you use it for. Let's just face it, right? I am not building stuff. I'm not
bombs.
Doing. Yeah.
Just kidding. I do not build bombs.
Oh, Jesus. No, that's obviously me because I'm the Armenian one, right? So...
That's right.
Just kidding. Armenians are not terrorists, everybody. We love all Armenians. I'm part Armenian. So, but the reason why I like Macs over PCs, and I've had both. I grew up with PCs, and then I made a transition. We'll call it my coming out party, so to speak, around 2009. And a couple of things just stood out to me as just a kind of casual computer user, right? I'm not nearly, again, doing the stuff that you are, but one thing that stuck out to me is, yeah, I am paying a premium here, but for some reason, the premium made sense to me for a couple of reasons. One, I believe that the Mac iOS systems are just way more intuitive and user friendly for someone like myself. I kind of think of how should I do this on my computer, and usually I'll click on something and there's the option. That's very intuitive. I didn't find that as much on a PC, and it was a little bit frustrating for me. And the other thing that really, really tipped the scale for me is, quite frankly, their customer service. I know that has nothing really to do with the computer at all, but it has a lot to do with the brand, and they're very smart with that. I'll give you a quick story here. I had a Mac, or not a Mac, I had an iPhone a while back. Obviously, I lift a lot of weight, so I was.
I remember this story.
Yes. And I was working out at my old what was it? Old apartment complex. So it was like one of those little kind of generic little gyms that they have with a couple of things. They had some dumbbells. I was using some 40-pound dumbbells, doing something. And then I decided just to go ahead and throw them on the ground when I was done with my set, which people tend to do when they're getting all aggro and they're working out. Little did I know that when I was laying on the bench, I think I was doing butterfly curls. But little did I know that my iPhone had slipped out of my pocket and fell on the ground. But right before I decided to be a badass and throw the dumbbells down, well, I went ahead and threw a 40-pound dumbbell directly on top of my iPhone and shattered the entire thing, right? So long short, I take it over to my carrier first, right? Thinking, Verizon should be able to help me out. They wanted to sell me a refurbished iPhone for $550. So I
Sounds like a steal.
Yeah. So I politely told it to stick it up their ass. And I talked to a buddy of mine. He's like, dude, take it into the Mac, take it into the
I
Apple
just want to
store.
interject here. That buddy was me.
Yes. Take it into the Apple store. And I was like, okay, well, let's see what happens. I don't have, Apple Care on this fucking thing and all that stuff. So I was like, okay. I walk in there. I go to the Genius Bar and I give the guy my phone, and I'm like, yeah, I broke this guy. I didn't really tell him how it happened or whatever. Just handed it to him. And he's like, oh, well, looks like your phone got a little smushed here. Yeah, well, how about we just get you another one? I was like, oh, that'd be fantastic. Thinking I'm going to have to pay something for it. Zero. Brought me a brand new iPhone out of the case, opened it up, just downloaded all my stuff from my other phone on there, took the other one, gave me a receipt with $0 on it, told me have a nice day.
So instant customer for life at that moment.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. Because I just got done getting dry pumped without lube at the Verizon store, and then I went to Apple, and not only did they lube it up, they eased it in really nice and soft.
They bought you some wine with some candles.
Yeah.
Some scented candles in the air, some Barry White on.
There was even some foreplay before we got down to the anal raping, because there really wasn't any anal raping there. I left feeling, yes. Like, yeah, okay, you guys got me. Hook, line, and sinker. I am now a Apple man. So since then, everything that I get is Apple. I pay this premium because of those experiences, and it's been constant. Every time I've gone into the Apple store for something, it's always been the kind of same supreme customer service.
Well, that's good. If you get an Apple sticker and put it on your guitar, I heard that it holds a better tune.
Oh, yeah. I've actually already done that, too. I actually, because I'm not that good at the guitar anymore, I went ahead and I have, like, Apple stickers from everything. I put, like, 6 or 7 on there, and each time it just makes me sound better and better. I'm almost at Steve Vai level. It's pretty cool.
Nice. Yeah, I thought about putting an Apple sticker on my car so I can get extra 10 horsepower.
Yeah. It'll work. Trust me. It's a very powerful brand.
Well, that's understandable, and I'm glad they were able to hook you up and take thousands of dollars from you over the next couple of decades. So.
Hey, and then once they got you hook, line, and sinker, bro, I mean, seriously, everything that I have, they're very smart. It's all, it's all very fluid with how everything works together. My PC works with my phone, with my iPad, with this, with that. It's all So if I tried to switch one device to Android or to PC, I think I might create the apocalypse and unleash another virus.
Well, I'm also pretty sure that you're probably in bed pretty deep with Apple at this point, right? You probably have a bunch of music on iTunes. You probably have a bunch of software that you have purchased over the years that's now in your repository of softwares. And if you left, you'd have to replace everything, right?
Right, and that in addition to literally being in bed with Apple, I've had a couple of weekend getaways with Tim Cook, and they've been fantastic. So there's that too. There's actually a personal relationship between me and the CEO. So
Yeah, and I'm actually on the other side. So I made this decision really early on, really before the iPhone had even came out, and it was just iPods still.
oh my God.
Oh, iPods, kids, were a device that played music in the early 2000s. Just so
yes.
you know.
It was one of the original MP3 players, I believe.
Yeah, and so once that happened, I was just like, I don't want to replace all my music, and have to like buy all iTunes music. And so I was just like, I don't really want to do that. And then now I'm at the point to where it's exponentially so, right? I have so much software and so many expensive softwares that I have that it would cost me thousands and thousands of dollars to try to like move everything over to Apple. It just wouldn't work for me.
So let me ask you this, Bob, real quick question here. Money aside, completely. Would you prefer to have Apple products?
If they made a product that I had the ability to adjust hardware as needed, then I might be on board with that. Because I know that they do put premium hardware in there, but they usually put those soldered onto boards instead of in slots that you can then upgrade later. And that's their model, right? They want you to have it for a few years and they want you to buy a new one. I mean, you see it with iPhones. They'll literally push an update to slow a phone down to force you to buy a new phone.
They've gotten caught doing that. But you know what?
Right.
Yeah, I understand that. So, so it really just sounds to me that you like a lot of slots.
I do. I mean, the more slots, the better. And
I'm so fucking immature.
If I can fit a really large card into a slot, then that's the way it's going to be.
Would you say that would be a really large stiff card?
They're always stiff cards. So yeah, I'll never be a Mac person. I just won't.
Geez, well, that's rough. You're just
know.
gonna right out of the gate there, huh?
Yeah, I made that decision a long time ago, and I'll stick to it now. The only time I could ever see me going over to Mac is if there was just some proprietary software that they made that was just a game changer, and I just had to have it.
Or if the stiffies grow exponentially and the show takes off.
Oh, you think if I just had more money I would frivolously spend on a Mac for no reason other than to get a little Apple sticker with a bite out of it? I don't know. I have a printer. I could just make a sticker.
That's true. This is true. All right. Fuck it. All right. You're a Mac guy. Wait, no, I'm the Mac guy. I'm a big Mac. You're a PC guy. We're never going to get along about that. We can never fluidly have our computers communicate to each other without some kind of special Mac software from a PC. So I get it. Whatever. Fuck it. Just fuck it. Forget it. I'm done.
Well, that drink right there seems awfully not full of booze. So I think it's probably a good idea for us to take a stiff drink break and get
Already?
some stiff drinks going.
Already?
You mean
already? Well, I
it's
want to
overdue.
I want to talk about something first before we get the stiff drink, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. My time is all yours.
You are such a dickhead. But for some reason that made me feel really good at the same time. But I do have to mention something here. I think it's very interesting. By the way, everybody, I'm not going to talk about it too much, but I really appreciate everybody that's decided to like and follow our Facebook page. But since the very beginning of creating the page and sending out invite bobs, I've noticed something very interesting. And I'm not sure I understand it. Maybe it was just something that they forgot to do, or they really don't.
You mean the stiffies?
Yeah.
You're talking about the stiffies?
Stiffies,
Okay.
yes.
I needed to qualify that they.
Yes.
Normally you predicate a pronoun with a noun to reference back to. But, go ahead. I don't want to grammar Nazi you.
You kind of did. And now I feel personally attacked. But no, in all seriousness, getting back to it, I think it's really interesting that we now have, let's see here. We've got 141 followers, right? And I've tracked this since it was down to about like 60 or 70. And then the people that like the page, we have 140. So 141 followers, 140 likes. Now, I'm no Andrew Lang. Yes! Anyways, I'm no Andrew Lang, but when I do that math there, that shows me that there's one person, and I can't find out who the fuck it is, which is frustrating, that has decided to follow us, but I'm not sure they like us, Bob. What kind of person does that?
Well, I will tell you this, that yesterday I specifically went to our page to make sure that it wasn't me. Because there was a good chance that it could have been.
I just had to check now, too, to see if I liked it. And I was like, okay, thank God. But, yeah, it's almost like this person doesn't like us. I mean, this may be one of our enemies, Bob. I mean, we don't have a lot of those because we're such stand-up guys.
Maybe it's a frenemy.
Yeah. Ooh, I like that. Is that new?
No, it's definitely not. It's definitely not.
Oh, I've never heard it before, so it sounded really nice. But
pop culture, Scott, get in it.
I guess I'm going to have to a little bit more here for the stiffies. But, yeah, so there is a stiffy out there that is just maybe they want to know what's going on, but they do not like us.
In fact, if you find out who you are, go ahead and email us at Bob or Scott, Bob at the Stiff Truth or Scott at the stifftruth.com, and let us know that it was you, and we will send you a T-shirt.
Yeah,
just for being that person, but we will name names. That's the caveat. You can get a free shirt from us, but we're going to expose who you are. So, just because we're curious. We won't chastise you for it. We just want to know if there's a reason for it, if it's an oversight. Or do you really follow something that you don't like? Because it seems odd.
I think people do, though. I think there's a lot of people that say follow Donald Trump on Twitter, and they are hardcore left-leaning liberals, right? But they want to see what this fucker's saying all the time. So it's almost like this love-hate relationship. Do we already have one of those?
I wonder who would follow us, but that is not interested in what we're talking about. But it can't turn away. Like it's a train wreck. Like these guys are so bad and so stupid. I can't stop following them, but God, I cannot like them, right?
I was kind of thinking about that because, again, this is, and just to point out, everybody, this is definitely not upsetting to us. It's comical. This is funny to me. And when I noticed this and started thinking about it, it's like, who the fuck is this person? I was like, who does this? Like we were just saying. And it's almost like they follow it like in its addiction. Like they have to follow everything that gets sent to them. If somebody sends them an invite, they're, oh, fuck, I don't really like a page about fucking, green chili flavored cream cheese, but I've got to follow it because I got the invite. It's like
I feel obligated to my Facebook brethren.
Yeah, it's like they followed the page against their fucking will, like we had a gun to their head or something, and I was like, all right, dude, all right, I'm gonna press follow, but I refuse to like anything. So it's just very interesting to me. And again, if you'd like to step forward and present yourself and come out of the closet, so to speak, about this, you're going to get a free Stiff Truth T-shirt. But the caveat beyond naming names is we're also going to make sure it's a triple XL.
Yeah, and in fact, I'd like to go ahead and invite them on.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's bring them on. So we'll have our first interview potentially with the mysterious follower that doesn't like us.
Yeah, I was going to say with the stiffy, but they might not be a stiffy because they don't like us.
They may be half chub. I think that's what they are.
They're a flaccidity.
Yeah, a flaccidity. A flaccider.
What do you call a stiffy that doesn't stiff? I don't know.
It's a stiffy that went limp. Okay, so let's just chalk it up to that. We're
limp stiffy.
Sorry. Hey, it's Fred Durst. All right, where have you been, man? I might break some shit tonight. Sorry for everybody. For all the stiffies out there that are a little bit younger, that was a Limp Bizkit reference, and we were talking about their lead singer Fred Durst.
Just Google it. There's lots and lots to Google there.
They had this song called Nookie, where he did it all for the Nookie. Look that up, kids.
Yes, so you can take his cookie and stick it up your yeah.
Stick it up your yeah. Stick it up your yeah.
That's right. Okay, so please come forward, and we will invite you on the show to answer the question of what happened there, or why you decided not to like us, but yet you were compelled to follow us.
Yes, so it's very interesting to us.
I do want to remind everyone that we do have a a stiff truth topic coming up after the break, and it's something that me and Scott just love to talk about. So
Yes, we do.
we look forward to that. We're going to go grab our stiff drinks, and we'll enlighten you guys on what they are. And the other end is some ZV here, and we'll see you guys in a few.
All right, let's go get stiffed up.
I don't know. I don't even know who ZV is. Let's get it.
Woo, out of breath, huh? I'll tell you what, those stairs are getting out of hand.
Well, there's 7 flights, so don't judge.
I was just, the way that I'm usually back a little bit earlier, I'm not going to lie, everybody. They don't know about my home, but adjacent from the office here, the studio, is a full wet bar in my living room. So I literally just walk over there and make myself a cocktail real quick and come back. But I kind of feel like one of the kids, like I was in school. I was pretty athletic in school, and I feel like I just finished the mile, and you're one of the fat kids that like finishes like 10 minutes later that's wheezing the whole time when they get to the finish line. That's kind of what I was thinking about when you were gone this time.
Yeah, that's pretty fair.
You know the wheezing I'm talking about too, where it sounds like they're about to keel over, and they have like all of a sudden they've got like the most horrible case of the flu. Yeah.
Well, speaking of the fat guy, I had a pretty good blood donation, blood pressure that was taken. So it was 129, which isn't the best, but over 85, I think. So a little high, but not for being, 270 plus pounds. Not bad. Not bad for a fat guy. It's pretty good numbers for a fat guy.
Which is interesting because I am not nearly as big, and my blood pressure on average is usually like 130 something over 60 or 70. So I'm all over the board. What are you gonna do?
So at least I may be husky, but I do stay active and play basketball still, and so there's still things that I do to try to stave off death. So.
That's good for you. And Bob, I got to tell you too, you're a very nimble guy for your weight, and you're not nearly. I'm not going to even compare you to the size of somebody like Chris Farley. But do you remember Chris Farley used to do like his own stunts, especially in Beverly Hills Ninja, where he was doing like sick ass fucking roundhouse kicks and shit? I was like, how is that guy doing that? But he was quite nimble for a very large man.
He's a skinny guy in a fat guy's body.
Yeah, he really was. He really was. I think it was. That definitely was. What? Hey, what are we drinking today, Bobby?
So I wanted a whiskey sour.
So,
I mean, me and Scott obviously planned it. Oh, sorry, grammar Nazi. Scott and I obviously planned this, so we did go get some sour mix, and we made sure to have whiskey in stock, which, we normally do, but I bought special whiskey for this one.
What kind of whiskey did you buy?
I bought the Kirkland's Jameson, the 4 years aged Kirkland's Irish whiskey.
Very nice. Very nice.
Very good Irish whiskey. So,
well,
what'd you get?
Oh, I got the same thing.
The Kirkland's Irish whiskey?
No. Actually, I'm using a blended Scotch. I'm using a blended Scotch for mine because it's still whiskey. And I did look up, make sure. I was like, is this okay for a whiskey sour? And it said on Wikipedia, mind you, that.
So it's good.
Yeah, so it's legit. It's very legit. But on Wikipedia, it says that you can use a sour mash, you can use a Canadian whiskey, an Irish whiskey, or a Scotch. And I was like, okay, I'm in the safe zone. Here we go.
No mention of bourbon, huh? They didn't like the bourbon.
You know what? That maybe was in there. My photographic memory has a really dirty lens, so I need to really get that cleaned up. You know what I mean? Well, hold on. Let's both enjoy a virtual cheers. Virtual cheers, my friend. And let's both enjoy a nice sip of this tasty beverage.
It's good. So I have a highball glass, so of course I went with the double because I'm worth my salt as a man.
Well, and you just talked about being a big guy too. I mean, I hope you're not doing a single. I mean, we got to kind of be on par here, you know.
I don't ever do a single shot. Like very rarely. Like that's to like keep the pace going.
Yeah,
even
I
when
think.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, please go.
So even when I
Like I was saying.
So even when I'm like wanting to get down and my responsibilities have been fulfilled and my kids are going to bed and all of that, and I want to throw down on some whiskeys, I start off with just taking 2 shots, and that's how you prime the pump.
Yeah. And this is, well, Jesus Christ. You know, it's really interesting that we are such alcohol connoisseurs after our last Stiff Troop topic, and I was probably the biggest hypocritical sounding motherfucker in the world. But I agree, man. In fact, I think this recipe called for a ounce and a half, and I just kind of giggled at it. That's like an ounce and a half, my fucking ass. We're doing 2.5, okay? So
right,
I pump mine up a little bit too.
I want a whiskey sour, not a sour whiskey, right?
That sounds disgusting.
Sour mix by itself is like really, really hardcore, and it's full of sugar. So no, it's mostly whiskey. Top off with just enough sour mix to take that edge off the whiskey and lighten it up a little bit.
There we go.
And it runs better than line in Tommy Boy, right? You know, 7 whiskey sours, and I still sell the son of a bitch. Damn, I'm good.
That's right. Good old Brian Dennehy. Gotta love him. Gotta love the guy.
Good deal.
Oh my. Well,
So-
I want to mention something real quick here, Bob, and I actually did mean to cut you off. I'm very, very, very excited about some pretty big name sponsors that we got right out of the gate. I haven't really disclosed this to anybody yet, but Bob, if you remember last week, we were able to pick up a couple of key sponsors for the show. And Bob, if you'd like to take it away and just do the first read for our first big name sponsor, I think that'd be amazing.
Yeah, this Stiff Truth is brought to you by 1-800-Flowers. In fact, for all your flower needs, if you want to go to 1-800-Flowers.com/the Stiff Truth, you will find page not found.
Hey, it's all they had to offer so far, but we're going to take them, okay? The other one that if you want to do one more for us here, I believe we also were able to pick up stamps.com.
Oh, yeah, no, go ahead. Give us the read.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. Well, hey, stamps.com, never have to go to the post office again. I mean, this place is amazing. They send you a digital scale. They send you all the stuff you need. You don't have to wait in long lines anymore. And if you guys go to stamps.com right now, /the Stiff Truth, you will have a Trojan horse virus downloaded on your computer.
So, full disclosure, guys. No, we definitely do not have sponsors from stamps.com and from 1-800-Flowers.
But what is true is our promos. If you do go to either stamps.com /the Stiff Truth or 1-800-Flowers, 1-800-Flowers /the Stiff Truth, you will either get page not found or you will get a virus downloaded on your computer. That's legit.
So best of luck, everyone.
All right, I'm done just fucking around.
So, the Stiff Truth. We're here. It's that time of the show, everyone. I know you've all been waiting with like anticipated and bated breath here. Like, what are these guys going to talk about? What do they love to talk about for years? You wanna go ahead and give me your take on our Stiff Truth for the day?
Yeah. Well, I mean, first and foremost here, again, this is a topic that's been we'll say we've been at odds a little bit. I mean, I think we do agree on some aspects of it for sure. It's it's a very general, very wide kind of topic too. We can kind of take this a lot of different ways, and I think we've trickled a little bit through our last few episodes that we would be talking about this. And today we're going to be talking about the free market economy. Okay. Yeah. Now, right now, we probably just lost a couple of viewers that are voting for Bernie Sanders, and that's okay. That's okay. We'll get you guys back. We'll reel you back in. But Bob,
you 20-somethings will come back next week.
That's right. But there's a lot of different ways we can go here, Bob. But I want to start off, I think, really, what is your perspective on just the free market economy in general?
Well, there's pros and cons, right?
Boy, that was
just
deep.
just like anything, right? I mean, if I pop a boner, it's very awesome unless I'm at the bank. You know, there's pros and cons.
Well, hold on. Wait, if you're at the sperm bank, you're just getting ahead of the game.
That's true. Once again, priming the pump. So, I think the free market economy has some very good key features that have to be incorporated, right? And that's competition, right? Free market economy drives competition, which is great for the consumer because the several companies all come up with the same idea. They're all fighting for it. They're all fighting for a limited customer base, and they're all fighting for that same customer base. So it brings in creativity, ingenuities to help drive costs down, production costs. It helps drive that down. It helps them source their materials more efficiently and effectively, helps them streamline their processes. All of these things all go along with the bottom lower cost for the customer because they're all vying for your business, which is a great key principle of free market economy, and it is very true until it's not. Right? What happens is eventually one company will start getting the edge, right? And then they'll start buying all the other companies. That's fine. That's part of it. Unless they start getting, buying them all, and then they start creating a monopoly, which then eliminates the free market economy. So this is when we get to the edge of free market economy is when companies start getting trusts or monopolies, right? And then they start going away because then now they've managed to circumvent the system of competition. And then it really chaps my ass when we start giving, these monopoly and antitrust freedoms to companies. Like the NFL is a good one, right? The NFL has an antitrust with Congress, right?
By the way,
US.
Bob, just real quick here. If it's chapping your ass, don't go to Costco right now. Wait till the morning, okay, before you get your toilet paper.
That's because I went to Costco and they didn't have any toilet paper, so now I have the red ass.
God damn it. Anyways, I'm sorry. You were talking about the NFL.
So yeah, it's just the NFL is just an example of antitrust. Once companies reach the size of industry to where they've literally bought up all the other competition, that's when I believe that the government needs to step in and be like, all right, guys, we have to promote competition. This is what our economy thrives on. We can't have you getting so big that you are going to become Amazon. I'm not saying that I want to break Amazon out. I'm just saying that Amazon is a good example of how it buys other companies and then takes those away. Walmart's another good example of that, right? So I do believe that there has to be oversight and control measures put on these companies to keep them from growing so large that it eliminates the competition in their lane. We have to at least encourage that because what you have eventually is you have people that won't be able to start small businesses. And this country needs to have small businesses all competing and growing. And if you eliminate that, then you eliminate a lot of the American dream, right? You eliminate a lot of the need to even be here. What do you think about all that?
I agree to a certain extent, Bob. I mean, definitely we're on the same page about competition, right? And how healthy that is. And I'm going to take it a step further too with that, just saying that without competition, there is really no motivation to strive to do more and invent more and just to keep innovating, right? That's another, I think, amazing byproduct of competition is not only is it phenomenal for the customer, like you were saying, but I believe competition too also takes us to new heights in what we come up with and just what we develop. I think it's one of the reasons why the United States does have a lot of course things that need to be improved, but I think we do have some of the best minds, scientists, and innovative thinking in the entire world. There's a couple other countries too that are up there on a whole, but I think that's a really big thing in general. The other thing that I necessarily don't agree with 100% is regulation. Okay, this is something where what I tend to understand is every time the government steps in and throws their hand in the cookie jar, they have a hard time not taking more cookies than everybody else and kind of ever getting out of the cookie jar, so to speak. So kind of a weird analogy, but I think you know what I'm saying. So what I've always kind of been fearful of and what I've seen is too much government intervention in the free market, too much regulation stifles and just kind of snuffs out what it does best. And that's create opportunity. right? And that's really what I think the big difference is right there. Now, some kind of regulation, minimal regulation, yeah, I agree in that, but I think that's a slippery slope. Just very much like, somebody that's been off the wagon for a long time and has a drink, all of a sudden now they got, they're fucking chicks with dicks. And
well, one was okay.
But no, in all seriousness, that's probably where I disagree a little bit is on regulation. I don't think
by a little bit he means like entirely.
Yes. And I'm not saying that I'm an anarchist. I'm not saying that I don't think the government shouldn't have any kind of loose regulations and things like that. Just to do its fucking job. If you ask me, the government's job is just kind of to not to really get involved and control things. It's really to just oversee and make sure that people aren't taking advantage of each other, companies, and that's fine. That's the minimal regulation that I think should be involved. Go ahead.
Well, what do you think about then? Why does T-Mobile and Sprint, for instance, need government approval to merge?
I don't know. I don't think they should. And here's my thing. I'm going to take it even farther. I'm going to go out in left field here. Okay. But I honestly, yeah, there you go. Way over there. Do you see? Hey, when you looked out in left field, did you see your notes from the last show?
I did. They're still there. They're still up.
I love it. No, but I'm going to take it farther here. I'm going to be a little bit of an extremist here, if I may, and say that monopolies are okay. Monopolies are okay. And here's the reason. Again, too, if you are a company like Amazon and you know damn well that you've got a well-oiled, profitable machine and this thing is going to fucking keep blowing up and you can't stop us, what's wrong with that?
So can Amazon then buy the electric grid that has been deregulated and commercialized and then buy the oil companies when they get large enough to do that and then control all of that? Because then it goes right against competition again.
Yeah, to a certain extent. But you know what? If you're stifling, if you're stopping companies from being able to strategically partner up, is what I'll call this, to strategically partner up to dominate an industry, right?
Or several,
yes. I don't agree that there should only be one company that controls everything. However, something like the Sprint and T-Mobile thing, sure, fucking merge, do it.
Well, yeah, I mean they're the third and fourth largest carriers, telecom carriers in America, behind Verizon and then AT&T.
And honestly, why not merge to be a better competitor with Verizon?
And after the merger, they're still number 3 behind AT&T.
Well, then they need to fucking put their resources together and go after
get with AT&T, right?
Yeah.
Let's merge with AT&T and take out Verizon.
Absolutely. Fuck yeah. Fuck Verizon. Verizon's a piece of shit. I hate them.
So let me kind of counter with this, right? So you say that competition encourages inventing, ingenuity, engineering advances, basically technological advances in society as a whole, correct? Because it does.
Yes, absolutely.
That's 100%. Mm-hmm. So what happens when a corporation gets a hold of a monopoly and then they take that aspect out of it, and then now we are progressing at the speed of business. So, for instance, we could have wireless 1 gig internet here like South Korea does, who's not a political and economic powerhouse as America is, but we all have like 50 and 100 meg internet. Our internet is sucking cow dicks over here, while the Koreans are having wireless internet that is a regulated utility in their country that they can't even charge more than $50 a month or whatever for. But over here, there's people that don't even have internet. It's ridiculous, and we're supposed to be, advanced and all this, but then our technology is cruising along because the companies know that we'll still pay it, and that they won't upgrade their stuff or invest that money for 1 gig wireless in all their towers until they absolutely have to, putting us behind the advances of the rest of the world. So what do you think when business and economic models impede progress for humanity as a whole like that? Is that just we just have to move at the speed of business instead of the speed of humans?
That's a tough one, Bob, because again, this is a very fine line, if you ask me. Again, I get what you're saying, right? We don't want a company, even though they've already done it, like Amazon, to buy up all these other companies and start
Or
controlling.
like Duracell that has batteries that don't run out, or Firestone or BC Goodrich or whatever that has tires that don't wear out, and they're holding onto the patents and all that. Anyway, go. Conspiracy theories unite.
Yeah, but using Amazon as an example, with just where they're at right now, where has the negative repercussions or lack of innovation or lack of more kind of just things for the consumer happened yet? I don't think it has.
That's a good point. Amazon is kind of a rare breed.
Well, how do we know there's not more of these out there? But we don't know because of the antitrust laws, right? Because of the antitrust laws. I mean, that's really, I think, what spearheaded this. Fact check it, but I want to say the first company, and we just mentioned them too, that needed to be broken up to give room for other competition was AT&T back in the day. There was no pin drop Sprint. Jesus Christ, I don't think anybody's going to know that one except for some of our older viewers.
Hold on. I just had to drop voice stream.
Yeah, voice stream.
Sorry, I just had to take it back.
MCI, right?
MCI.
I mean, yeah, like seriously, I think that was the original reason that they've developed the modern antitrust laws. Again, I'm not 100% accurate.
Was Ma Bell back in the 70s, 80s?
I want to say 60s or 70s or something like that. It's like, hey, there's no room for anybody in here. We need to have something. I do agree.
Because they were dominating telecom, right?
Yeah, well, they were it. It's like that was it, man. So I do agree to that extent. Like, okay, that's when government needs to step in and say, hey, you guys, there's no room for anybody else here. But at the end of the day, going back to Amazon, like we were just saying, I have not seen anything negative happen from Amazon's growth.
We love you, Amazon.
We do, and I've only seen them get better for the consumer as they continue to grow. I mean, let's face it. Like, they started out selling fucking books. That's it. That's all they did.
I want to interject here. My son didn't realize. He's like, I need to buy a new Harry Potter book. Where do I go? I'm all done with my books. And I was like, oh, you need the fourth one or whatever. Okay, cool. Just look it up on Amazon. And he told me they sell books.
Wow. Wowzer, right? Yeah. I don't know if anybody remembers that, kids, but the Stiffy should. If you're over the age of probably like 25 or something like that.
Our Stiffies do.
Yeah, I think so. But at the end of the day, that is another beautiful example of opportunity and going after it. These things cannot happen in a closed, what I'll call a closed economy, okay? And that's very similar to socialist or a communist country. They have a very closed thing where their entrepreneurs are not allowed to do what they want to do. They are not allowed to go chase opportunities. They're told what they can and cannot do, and there's a caste system too. You have to remember that. So what Amazon has done is said, look, we started out as a very small internet company that was selling books. And now what do, bro? They not only sell everything under the fucking sun, they also have an amazing streaming video service. They have a legit movie and television studio company, and they're coming out with original content all the time.
Let's not forget Audible for our book listeners.
Does that make sense? Well, if you listen to audiobooks. But yeah, so I do too, and that's only because I am illiterate. But no, God. Okay, so yeah, they've come a long way. They have now so many different product offerings, so many different service offerings, and so many different channels that they are profitable. But the reason they are is because we're buying it up, right? We're loving it as a consumer. We want to get back to the free market being good for the consumer. But the only way that they were able to do this is because they had uncapped opportunity potential, right? Nobody from the government said, hey, guys, you're getting too big right now. We got to make room for everybody else because, quite frankly, there's still other people out there. Let's take, for instance, the streaming services. I don't think they're going to top Netflix, right? I don't think,
they haven't.
You got Hulu out there. You've got a couple other ones. Crackle. You've got the one that's specific for comedy. The one that was Shudder, specific for horror movies and stuff like that. They got their little niches.
Sure.
They're doing fantastic. So again, I don't see how Amazon getting bigger and bigger and buying all these companies is really stifling and stopping competition. I see it going the other direction. And I also see this. if they knew from the get-go, right? If Bezos knew, we can only get to right here, right? Here's world domination, right? Here, but we can only get right here. I don't think they ever would have progressed to where they are now.
Well, so here's the other side of that too. If they had limitations in that ceiling there, wouldn't they just spin up a sister company and, you know what I mean, and dominate the rest of the stuff that they're not able to get to, but with shared revenue because they're all under the same umbrella? So I think that I got really like low and slow there.
It's pillow talk with Bobby.
Right. This is how Amazon takes over the world. So regardless of Amazon doesn't have any government limitations put on it, right? Right now, not that I
don't believe
know
so.
of.
I don't know. I'm sure our Stiffies can enlighten us if we're wrong.
What about some of the other utility regulations? What about the oil and gas industry? Like, what about like for instance, in New Mexico, we have P&M, right? P&M dominates the electric grid in New Mexico, and they have an antitrust, so that they can, right? And so, if you have a complaint,
how is that working then?
So let me explain.
Okay.
So P&M screwed something up several years ago when I was trying to move, and they didn't credit my account when I paid everything off to move, and then they're like, oh, we have some discrepancies, we can't start your power, whatever. So I actually was like, you guys are jamming me here, and this is like an error on your side that you need to find this clerical error that you guys are saying that is happening. But I went to the Better Business Bureau, and I was like, I just want to file a complaint. They're like, well, we don't take complaints from P&M because they're not just like a normal company, and so because they don't have to file with the Better Business Bureau, because they don't have to provide good service, because they don't have to care, because they have it straight from the government that you guys are going to be the only one. You guys are going to be the ones that are in here within this geographical area, and you guys are going to provide the service to everyone. Well, what if we want to raise prices? Well, everyone can be like tough fucking shit for everyone, because you're going to have to pay that, and we're going to do whatever we have to do without any sort of representation, right? Even though they're supposed to. That's great that they're supposed to stay within their limits. If you think back in the gas industry, I believe it was 2005 when it wasn't 2005. It was Hurricane Harvey. When was that? 8 or 9?
Oh, good old Harvey. I don't know.
Harvey, my boy. You're my boy, Harvey. So
him.
when Hurricane Harvey hit, they lost 2 offshore drilling facilities for a while they had to fix everything up or whatever.
That was, by the way, that was 2017. You were way off.
Okay. Well, then that wasn't it. It wasn't Harvey.
Were you thinking Katrina?
No, I don't think it was Katrina. It was after Katrina. It was in 2007, 2008. It was when gas prices went up to $5 a gallon. Do you remember that for a spell?
Yeah, I do.
So
yeah,
the whole
they
point
got
of
really
that
high.
is when gas prices went up to $4 or $5 a gallon, they blamed it on 2 offshore drilling facilities going down. Well, that doesn't actually manipulate your supply and demand model enough to say that your prices went up that much to justify that expense. So they were fucking gouging us, right? But they had antitrust laws of the government, so they had to be regulated with how much they could actually raise because they had limited profit margins. Well, they said fuck you to the government, and they just made $1 trillion fucking dollars off of that, right? And then they lowered the prices back down before the plants were even open again. And there was congressional investigations, which were really fruitful since his company was supplying all those congressmen with their fucking campaign funds, right? And I want to say it was ExxonMobil or Texaco or whoever at the time. It doesn't fucking matter.
They're all a bunch of piece of shits.
They all have closed door meetings and they coordinate their prices, fucking, which they're not supposed to do anyway. And we know that all happens. But here I go with conspiracy theorists unite. But my problem is when you have that antitrust and you're supposed to be doing that shit, who is going to provide that oversight when you do have government regulations because you signed a deal, but all the government people providing the oversight have all been paid off by you?
Yeah, you see, that's corruption right there. This is corruption. I don't know if you can avoid this in a free market society or a socialist society. It's just the way things are. People are inherently evil, I think. And I'm just going to go ahead and say it right there. And they need to be put in check. The whole reason why the government's out there is because they know if people left completely to their own devices, will fucking eat each other. Yeah, they'll fucking eat each other.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and we're going to start with the babies first because they taste the best.
Yeah, they're the easiest. I may not be able to walk up a flight of stairs without losing my breath, but I can catch baby.
That's one thing I can damn do. Absolutely, my friend. Now, see that's a whole other monster out there. If you ask me, I guess you can really. I don't know. Oil and gas in general is just an industry that I think needs to hurry up and die. But
we're going to get a visit if this show ever gets popular by some lobbyist. We're like, hey, you need to shut your fucking mouth or I'll kill your children.
yeah, seriously. But I mean, let's just face it here. I mean, we're kind of getting off topic a little bit, but it doesn't matter. That's the whole point of conversating, right? But what we're doing here is like oil and gas in general. I think is an essential evil, right? It really is. I mean,
right now it is, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's 100%. Now, what's really interesting though about gas prices and stuff like that too, I don't know if you've noticed, but they've been a lot lower ever since we started doing a lot more drilling back here in the United States and got away from being completely dependent on Iran. So
yeah, and that's been
a good thing.
while.
Yeah, that's a good thing, though. This is a good thing because the last thing that we need to do is be completely dependent on other countries for shit that we need as a lifeline, really, for our energy.
Like Belgium is the U.S.
Yeah, exactly. But so back to some free market stuff here, man. I mean, one thing that again, the level of regulation we definitely disagree on. I think to an extent. I think too much regulation is just offering too much government. Too much government intervention. Too much government intervention is too much government control, and we see how fluidly things that are run by the government work, like the U.S. Postal Service.
How then would you regulate it if the politicians are too close to the regulated?
I guess really what and they may already have this. I think you have to have is there like an independent board for these kind of things for regulations? I think there probably is.
What if there was just a board of citizens?
Ooh,
educated
I like that.
Citizens that it was illegal if they found any money going to them. Both parties would be sent to prison in Guantanamo as an act of terrorism. But what if it was illegal then? Maybe the regulation would be a little bit more honest.
Perchance. But here's the other thing, too. Citizens, just like politicians, are easily bought. That's just the way it is. So I don't know really if separating citizens can be tracked down too by these companies and say, hey, guy, I'll give you a reach around and a couple $100.
They can, but then the sanctions could be so heavy that it would not even be worth touching them with the 10-foot pole, right? Like if it was like, cool, your company has to give up 30% of its profit margin for a decade. If you get caught, or you as a citizen that's on this board, you can get like 20 years in prison if you get caught accepting money. Then it would be so drastic that people are like, no, fuck you. I don't want anything to do with this because we're gonna get our ass handed to us if we get caught. What
100%.
like that? Is that too close to, a communist rule for you?
No, it's not too close. I mean, you're getting dangerously close. No, I mean, and quite frankly here too, I think the biggest thing here is this is tough, right? This is tough because the free market society is not a perfect solution, right? The other way around is definitely not a perfect solution either. But I think again, highlighting that the free market society gives people the freedom and the opportunity to go after their dreams is the big reason why I'm such an advocate. And with that being said, I think everything government-wise should get out of the way of the individual chasing after that opportunity.
So I think what we have here is fundamentally we're arguing kind of over the same things, right? But what we have here is we have like the bubble chart, right? We have the free market economy.
This is Bob's new high-tech software, by the way, people.
Then we have regulation, and then the other side you have individual rights, right? And what we're arguing about is really how far those bubbles bleed into each other in the bubble chart. Yeah, I think is more of what we're having differences in opinion on than the overall right that those three areas or whatever should exist. I think it's just how far each one bleeds into the other and how far one dominates in one area and one dominates in the other. So maybe it's not as juicy as we thought for our stiffies out there, but we definitely don't see eye to eye on it.
No, we don't. And here's the other thing too. There's been a lot of positive things that have happened from deregulation, right? So we're going the other direction here. So
For a
that's
while.
yeah, for a while. But again, just because just because of that fact is lightening up regulation on certain things can again kind of reignite um, just the beauty of the free market and the beauty of competition. I think that right there speaks in itself of it is good to have some regulation, but too much is too much is bad. It's
Well,
bad.
so let me point out that in the '70s, whatever Ma Bell got broken up. 20 years later, we had MCI.
Yeah.
In the '80s, we had deregulation for the power from Reagan, right? 15 years later, we had Enron. So again, these specific companies will push and push and push and try to impose their will in the free market economy and take advantage and be that terrible human characteristic that you mentioned earlier, where we'll eat ourselves without any sort of oversight or regulation, and then they're left to their own devices and they fuck everyone over to the detriment of the country.
It's kind of like what we were talking about last time about when we're talking about homeless people and having these laws that kind of gives them more of just the ability to do whatever they want and things like that.
I just pictured Bernie Madoff above like a trash can fire. Sorry.
Oh, that's great. That's great. But no, I mean, the point that I'm trying to make here is that no matter what, okay, deregulation, regulation, right? They both have a purpose behind them that does make logical sense. Like, why do we need to regulate this? You just talked about it, Bob. I'm not going to beat a dead horse, right? Why do we deregulate something? Because there's too much government oversight, right?
Right.
They're kind of just smothering the companies, right? However, is the reason why we have these cycles is because again, people are inherently evil, if you ask me. So when you have things going the right way, there's always going to be somebody on both ends of the table, regulation, deregulation, that are going to find something to exploit and something that's going to be, that they can take advantage of. And that's where you get these companies. That's where you get MCI. That's where you get Enron, right? Because if things would go and we had this assumption that people are good-hearted at nature and they care about their fellow man and they just want to do good things for the world and be humanitarians, then we wouldn't have this issue of regulation and deregulation. I don't even think you'd have any regulation if that was the case, and we actually performed like this utopian society that we wish we had. But that's not the case, man. So I think no matter what, it's gonna be something that keeps going back and forth, right? It's like a
Scott, how is our conversation ever going to solve all of America's problems?
Damn it, and I know that's the ultimate goal, man. I feel like I'm letting the stiffies down here, but at the same time, the other thing I want to talk about with the free market here, bud, is I find it very interesting, and this is maybe we're going to switch gears a little bit. I find it very interesting that capitalism, the free market, it's very negatively seen around the world, right? Very negative. If you talk
It's weird, right?
Yeah, if you talk to certain people, it's very, very negative. Capitalist pigs is probably one of the most common things I've heard from my comrades over in Russia, which again is where the Trump is from.
It's not just Russia. It's also the Middle East. It's also
everywhere. And I'm just kidding around, but with it just being there. But there's such this negative about the free market and it only supporting the rich and it basically throwing the poor, just make them poor, throw them under the bus, right? But there's a lot of instances where that's completely false. And this is something that I wanted to bring up just to educate people if they don't know. It does have a lot to do with one of our political candidates this year and in 2016 that really I don't think is a free market advocate whatsoever. He says he is to a certain extent, that he cares about the working class and the poor, but there's been lots of examples. I'll give you one example, for instance, in India. India, as you may know, because you've traveled there a lot, was under British rule.
I frequent it.
But was under British rule for a very long time, right? They got their independence in the 40s, and then there was a section between 1940 and 1991 where they were probably the bottom of the barrel, poorest country, just poverty-ridden, horrible, right? They were able to pull themselves out of that 1991 and moving forward. They are now and had become by the mid to late 90s, I think, one of the fastest growing economies, second to like China or something like that, even currently, right? Biggest thing is it was counterintuitive to why a lot of people do not like the free market, Bob. And they think, again, that this is going to support the billionaires and throw the poor further under the bus. But what happened from 1940 something to 1991 is they were under a socialist closed market, right? So the government had everything set up. They did everything for them. The businesses were all government run. Again, there was no entrepreneurship. There was nobody starting businesses. There was no competition. And what that did is that drove that country further into poverty. And the people that it hit the most was actually the people at the very bottom, right, of the socio-economical statuses. However, you get to 1991, what did they do? They started to and this is a quote from a documentary that I watched.
You're way too prepared for this argument.
Yeah. The documentary is called The Pursuit, and Arthur Brooks is the man that kind of spearheaded the whole thing. But what happened in 1991 is they basically let their businesses they let them go. They let them go, right? They gave them freedom to do what they need to do. They gave the freedom back to the companies to be innovative and to be competitive. And that's exactly what happened, right? They had just all this stuff happen in the early 90s. Instead of people on the streets begging, all of a sudden they're making pottery, right? They're making clothing. They're selling it like street vendors. Down to the very bottom, they literally lifted up that entire country, all because of the free market, all because of finally letting basically their businesses run the way businesses should. And that's with opportunity, in the front view, right? And that's something that is very counterintuitive if you think about it, when you think about what socialism is supposed to stand for, right? Socialism is supposed to care for the people at the bottom, right? That's why they have all these social programs, they have high taxes,
It's
and this and that.
supposed to care for all people.
Yeah, it's supposed to care for all people. Unfortunately, what happened in India is directly what they want to, or when I say they, the socialists and people that are on the democratic socialist wing and everything like that, is exactly what they condemn capitalism and the free market for.
Well, let's differentiate the difference between Venezuela 2 years ago and democratic socialism, right? Because true socialism and democratic socialism do have differences, right? So the democratic socialism does still have an economy and a free market economy, and people can still start their stuff. They are more heavy, but if you look at like European countries, they are free market countries, but with a lot of social programs.
Yes.
Right. So I know there's a lot of people out there that get confused because let's be frank, the media tries to create that confusion. They really want democratic socialism to be labeled as the most nasty word ever and to really be tied to fucking Putin and actual socialism just hands down. There is a difference, though. I mean, if you go to Norway, there's a big difference between Norway and fucking China. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I think what we're having here is I think we're both in agreement that the free market is the best way for Joe Indian person to migrate into America and want to start his 7-Eleven empire.
Please,
right?
it's Abdul.
I think it's Muhammad. But, but anyway,
let's not be racist here.
So when a foreigner comes and they want to chase that American dream, then they're heavily dependent on the free market economy, and rightfully so. Free market economy drives several benefits that we've talked about ad nauseum today. Mm-hmm. But there also needs to be some sort of regulation, and then there also needs to be other social structures. So in a perfect world, it's finding out where the blend of free market economy, social programs, government regulation, and individual rights all meet and work well together, knowing that people are shitheads, and in the end, people as a whole will try to cheat, manipulate, and bend the system their way. So with all of those things combined, that's the utopian society, right? It's finding that balance of everything, which to this point, no one has really found, right?
And honestly, too, I think part of the utopian society that you totally left out is when I actually open up a Bud Light, I do want a lot of chicks that are really hot in bikinis to jump out and start playing volleyball in front of me.
Right, and my line of Corvettes and Mercedes and everything. And yeah, that's true. That's true. Spuds McKenzie is coming and bringing me a beer from the fridge.
Just for all of our listeners out there, Spuds McKenzie, Stiffies, he's an old mascot from, I believe, the late 80s.
Yeah, that's right. Late
Yeah.
80s, early 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he had one spot in his eye. They used like 15 of them because they kept killing him somehow in commercial mishaps.
Spuds McKenzie's was injured during this.
We have Spuds McKenzie the 8th for this commercial. You guys been doing it for a long time? 2 years.
Well, and in all seriousness, Bob, I think the formula is pretty easy, right? I mean, what elements again did you say between the free market?
So we got
social
free market, social programs, government oversight, and individual rights.
Yeah, it's really easy. I think it's 1 part free market, 2 parts free market, 1 part social programs, and 1 part for the other 2. That's it. It's like a cocktail. We're done. We just solved it. Thank you. Good night.
This problem for America is brought to you by the Stiff Drink. We'll be posting this solution to this problem on our website, and you guys can all look at it there.
The perfect society is 2 parts free market, 1 part. Right under, it'll be right under for the whiskey sour.
You laugh until I actually post it.
No, I know you will. I know you will, Bob, because you're committed.
That's right. That's right.
And by committed, I mean, when do they need you back?
Oh, I'm back now.
Oh,
So I have this backdrop, so you can't see the crazy person bashing their head against the wired window over there.
Oh, I love it, Bob. I do love it, man. Well, I'll tell you what. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it turned out here that the free market. I think we both agree. Like we said, I think there's definitely some difference of opinions, but it is what it is, man. Because I think there's still going to be a lot of people that have a very, I guess, confused conception of what the free market is and how it helps people. And on the flip side, we've got a lot of people that have a very big misconception about what opposite of a free market really is a closed market society, right? I don't know if that necessarily means it's a socialist or communist society. I'd have to actually do a little bit more digging there. I mean, do you have any feedback on that? Because I don't want to tread into ignorant territory too much.
No, I didn't research that for today's show, and I don't want to spread misinformation and be part of that machine in this country, so I'll stay away from that one for now. If we bring that one back up, we'll come loaded with facts.
Oh, yeah. We'll come really loaded with facts and loaded, too, on stiff drinks.
Heavily loaded.
Heavily loaded. And that way we can articulate it right.
Well, that's all I got for us today. I want to thank everyone for listening. You guys have been great. Our viewership has been great. We've been really increasing on Spotify and iTunes. Remember to review us. If you're on YouTube, like us and subscribe us. Ring the bell for notifications. All of that. Scotty, you want to send us out on this one?
Yeah, you know what? I want to thank everybody, too. It's been awesome, guys. Can't wait till next week's show. We've got some really hot things that we want to talk about, and I promise you that we're going to have another very, very stiff drink. I don't know about the topic, but we're definitely going to have a stiff drink. So.
Yeah, that's a given every time.
All right, everybody. Well, hey, thanks again for listening, and we will see you guys next week.
See ya.